It is the Keane on Sport podcast here, and it's great to be joined in the studio now by our regular golf expert, of course, that's Ian St. John, and on the line there by PGA professional up there in Carlow, Harry Ewan. How are you at the moment, Ian?
I'm great, Matt. Great. Looking forward to this week. It's my favourite week of the year, to be honest with you. A lot of guys like the Masters and the Open Championship, but this is the one I've always looked forward to. I think ever since Payne Stewart, who would be my hero, won in '91 in the famous US Knickerbocker outfit. I think it just grabbed me. And I remember watching that playoff. I was only 13 at the time with Scott Simpson over at Hazeltine, and I just found it amazing that these guys were having very tough rounds of golf, shooting level par, hacking out of rough, and I think the majority of golfers out there can identify with it, and I certainly identified with it. So really looking forward to this week, and because it's in Pebble Beach as well, which is, along with St Andrews and Augusta, the three most famous golf courses in the world, it's just a magnificent place. I think with the Irish connection, they're just going so well at the moment too, with Rory and Shane Lowry, and GMAC just got into the Open Championship, and he had a great finish there as well at the weekend. And with Rory winning at the weekend and Shane finishing second, I just think I think we'll have an Irish guy well up on top of the leaderboard come the end of the week, and it's just a fantastic place. It's it's a public golf course, and I think it's about 500 or 600 euro to play the place. But the thing is, you have to stay on the property at either the Spanish Bay or I think it's the Lodge at Pebble Beach, so that's where it becomes expensive. But I think actually Harry was there in January or that, so Harry will tell us more about it. But really looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, you were over there, Harry. What was your impressions?
Hi lads, great to join you. I was lucky enough to be there the last week of January and got to play Pebble Beach, this course that they're using this weekend. So unbelievable. So look, it's an iconic golf course. It has been for a very long time. It's our centenary year this year, and that's why they're back there. The USGA have brought the US Open back there. They had the 100th playing of the US Open back in 2000. And now, because it's Pebble Beach's centenary, they've given it back to them again to host it this week. But it's an iconic golf course. For anyone that's not hugely even interested in golf, I think people should tune in this weekend and have a look at it. The setup of the golf course is one thing, but just in that Monterey Peninsula, where it's actually situated, and the views and the whole setup of the golf course, it's absolutely stunning. And whether you're into golf or you're not, I think to sit down there now on Friday or Saturday night for a couple of hours and watch a bit of golf from Pebble Beach would whet your appetite for being the west coast of California.
The runners and riders, Ian, who's going to be in contention come Sunday night?
I think this is wide open. I was looking at Brooks Koepka, and he's made a few, I wouldn't say, maybe they are controversial comments this week. Usually he's under the radar. Now he's well above the radar and everyone's after him, and he's having a tough time at the moment. They did a promo, I think it was CBS or Fox. Fox did a promotion for the week for the US Open, and he's won it 2 consecutive years. He's the world number one. They left him out of it. So I think he was just shocked at that, and he said, look, someone should get sacked over it, or if they haven't, it's an absolute disgrace. And then they went on to talk about what you think about the rough. Some of your fellow pros are giving out about it, and then he said, no, look, I don't think it's that bad. It doesn't bother me. I hate playing with guys that are giving out all the time, that this is bad or this is hard. You mean if you put the ball in the fairway and you put the ball in the green and you put it in the hole and then you're off and running, they're obviously not doing it well. So another controversial sort of a comment towards the rest of the field. And then there's the Brandel Chambly, who's a commentator in the States as well, who's made a couple of digs at him. So he kind of had under the radar, between the lines, if you want, had a couple of digs at him. So look, he's the world number one. You're talking about runners and riders. He obviously has to be one, but I just think that be said, there's some sort of a witchcraft in this game of golf that we play, Matt. You can be so good for so long time, and then all of a sudden something happens. I don't know if this is after rattling him, or it could affect his round or his week. But only very few people have outlasted the kind of the mysteries of this game. When Rory was Rory, 5-6 years ago, everything was flying. He hasn't won a major in 5 years, so it just doesn't seem to continue. And we've Rory, we've Dustin Johnson, we've a good few other players. But I think it's wide open. I think at the PGA Championship, We had maybe 10 to 12 lads that could compete because it was a bomber's paradise. I think there's about 50 guys that could compete at this because it's a shortened course. There won't be an awful lot of drivers off the tees. It's a second shot golf course, which doesn't, I think, suit the likes of Rory in that. Not saying that he won't do well or anything like that, but it's wide open. It's wide open, and that's why I think like anyone priced around 80, 90 to 1 could win this, I think, yeah.
Your own view, Harry, who do you think could be in contention?
Yeah, completely with Ian on this one. Like we've mentioned, it's an iconic golf course in ways. It's not the longest at just slightly over 7,000 yards, par 71. I think they've changed the second hole is a par 5, but for this week it's a par 4. So only three par 5s, one on the front nine on hole number 6, and then on the way in, hole number 14, and obviously the last hole. So 3 par 5s. But Ian's so right in saying it's very much going to be a second shot golf course. For people to understand that, the premium is on finding the fairway off the tee box because of the rough is going to be so juicy and so long. There's no advantage to playing your second shot out of there. So I think it negates the advantage maybe for the likes of Rory, DJ, Brooks, these guys that bomb it off the tee. They're going to be a little bit more conservative off the tee because of the premium of actually finding the short grass to give yourself the advantage of going into some of the smallest greens that they play on the US Tour. So I think that really kind of opens it up for a hell of a lot more players. Straighter guys are going to have an advantage here. Guys that can really kind of flight their shots into the green and are more accurate kind of players. Nearly going a little bit back to the old style, traditional way of moving your golf ball around the golf course with a bit more finesse, which unfortunately over the last 10 years I suppose golf has become a little bit more of a power game, and some of those players the game has nearly passed them by. If we mention the likes of Luke Donald or even to a certain extent Graham McDowell, these guys that were craftsmen at what they do but not the longest off the tee probably got left behind over the last few years. So I think what's going to be exciting this weekend to watch this US Open at Pebble Beach is we're going to see that kind of game, the old style game, come back a little bit more. A premium on straight hitting it into the right portion of these small greens, and when you do miss the green, the artistry of trying to get up and down. But look, it's wide open. We are coming into a fantastic stretch. Like the way they've moved the majors this year, and we kind of have them coming thick and fast now. Like you literally have 3.5 weeks in between each major. We've already had the Masters, already had the PGA. We'll have this, and then we're all going to rock up in Portrush hopefully in 3 or 3.5 weeks' time for the Open. But obviously Rory winning last week, God, he was unstoppable on Sunday night. Like that was Rory McIlroy of 2014. I personally didn't think that he had that game in him on a Sunday to close out a tournament in such fashion. So proves how wrong I can be. I was nearly losing faith in him now after 5 years of not really kind of showing up with that kind of form. But he literally is unstoppable when he's in that form. Can he hold on to it, and can he bring it out again this Thursday? I don't see why not. I think his start is key. Rory kind of needs to get a good start too often in big headline tournaments, and so much so this year in the Masters. Yes, he finished 20th and finished in the top 10 at the USPGA, but in neither tournament never really got in contention. He played himself kind of out of contention over the first 2 days. So I think what's hugely important for Rory is to get off to a decent start on Thursday, shoot under par and be in contention. But look, there's so much more going on there. I've 2 pages of players here, and I got prices and I have stats and everything. You could make a case for anyone this week, but I suppose you're going to ask us to narrow it down now a bit, Matt, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to narrow it down. Ian, you narrow it down first. We'll give Harry a breather there.
But you see, there's one other interesting thing now with Koepka as well, is that he really enjoys that booming cut shot, but often his misses are, it's a kind of a right to left win on the way coming back in a Pebble Beach, and I just seen that as being an issue. Now some will say, well, he can hold up the ball into it and land it softly, but he didn't really do it at the PGA Championship. So that again is another little small thing. A right to left wind for a left to right player it never really works out properly. But look, okay, narrow him down. Oh God! Like as Harry says, we could have a case for anyone. I think Dustin Johnson will have. I think he'll do it this week. It's hard to believe that his victory at Oakmont in 2016 remains his only major. He's won 20 times. He's been a fixture at the top of the world rankings. For so long. I think he's in the prime of his career. He's a terrific history around Pebble Beach. Albeit with the exception, I suppose, of 2010 when he had a 3-shot lead going into Sunday and he shot 82 and our own Graham McDowell thankfully won. But like, he's won the AT&T that's on there every, what I think is it, March or April on the tour. He's won that twice. He's been runner-up 3 times. Cruised to kind of a top 20 at the Canadian Open, where he was, looking for more or less just to get his game ready for this week. I just think it's a good situation for him to finally land that second major. Narrowing it down again, God, I'm looking at actually Jordan Spieth. He's 3rd, 8th and 7th in his last 3 events. I think his price has gone out to something like 40, 45 to 1 or that. He's had a real tough time since winning the Open Championship 2 years ago, where his putting, which he relies on, has been disastrous, really. But he's back. I think he's back, and I would look to see him being up there around the top on the last day. You have other stories with Phil Mickelson. I mean, he's a 6-time runner-up in this. If he was to win this week, he'd eventually get that Grand Slam of winning all 4 majors. He won here at the tournament earlier on in March in that AT&T, but it's a totally different golf course. He's 49 years of age, probably a bit too old, but the golf course, as Harry and myself were saying, is short enough. This is and again, as Harry was saying, you're looking for that artistry around the greens, which, Mickelson is probably the best at. So looking at him, and one other player maybe is Matt Kuchar. Like, if you're judging Matt solely on the quality of his golf, he's having a phenomenal year. I mean, he's 2 wins, 2 runners-up, 4 other top 10s, including tied 4th in Canada, and no one really saw him. Tied 12th at Augusta, 8th at Betcha Black. He's the FedEx Cup leader. And I suppose, with the exception of the whole Mexico incident and his caddy and the Sergio incident and that incident a couple of weeks back where he was trying to get a drop from a club ball, which is, in my book, an absolute disgrace, and like, he should have been kicked out of it if there was some way to do it. Just an absolute disgrace. But judging him solely on his golf, I can't see him being far away from it come the end of the week.
Okay, that's the 3 for Ian. The 3 for yourself up there, Harry.
Right, Matt, I got to go with American Patrick Cantlay. He's about 80 to 1 there at the moment. Obviously, look, he won a couple of weeks ago at Jack's Place in the Memorial with a fantastic score of 19 under. He was 3rd at the PGA Championship, our last major there last month. He also had a tied 3rd the week after the Masters down in Harbour Town. He was 9th in the Masters. So this guy is on a seriously good run of form since kind of first week of April. He makes an absolute ton of birdies. He's 5th in that category for the season, and he's 11th in the putting stats. So he's a guy on form. Form is huge. Shane Lowry is somewhere along the same route. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
66 to 1, Harry. Very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can't be denied. Like, a guy that is playing that well, and you saw how confident he was with the driver. He just really took on that golf course on Sunday. And bar for Rory, who no one could live with, Shane pretty much won the tournament without Rory, So, but look, Patrick Cantlay is my first one. As I said, he's about 18 to 1. My second pick, I'm going to go with Webb Simpson. He's about a 35 to 1 shot. Again, a guy that's really starting to play well over the last couple of weeks. He was tied 2nd with Shane Lowry there last week in Canada. He was 29th in the PGA Championship a month ago. Seriously good putter and short game. That's what I'm looking for here this week. He's 20th in driving accuracy, so in fairness, he gets it in play off the tee, but his real strong points are with the putter and with the short game. So we're going to give Webb Simpson a go this week as well. And my third one, and I mentioned him maybe for the Masters, he didn't quite perform for me, but I'm going to stick with him, Mark Leishman, at 60 to 1. Big price, but he is a big game player in fairness. He hasn't maybe had the start to the season that he would have liked. He was 49th in the Masters and he missed the cut in the PGA, but he was 5th in the Memorial 2 weeks ago and had last week off. So I'm hoping maybe he's going to be fresh. That 5th in the Memorial a couple of weeks ago has boosted his confidence. So I think he looks value at 60 to 1. He's popped his name up in many major championships, and one of these years or days I think maybe he's going to go close. But look, as we've said, there's so many that could be up there and in contention. I think the setup of the course is going to be huge. The old USGA director, Mike Davis, that guy is gone. He was notorious for kind of tricking up these golf courses and sometimes famously getting it wrong with the speed of the greens or the craziness of the rough. And something tells me that because the golf course is so good on its own right, they're not really going to mess up with the strategy or the setup of the golf course. I think they're going to let it be to a certain extent. Yes, we all know in a US Open, as it should be, that the fairways will be narrow, and if you hit in the rough will be rough, and that's the way it should be. And as Ian said earlier, that's kind of what we want to see. It's a different test to Augusta. It's a different test to the wind and the rain that you might get at a British Open. But we do want to see a challenge, but I think it's important for the USGA not to make a mess of it again. They've had possibly 3 out of the last 4 years where they've got it very wrong as a tournament committee. But the forecast looks to be fairly solid. It's between 16 and 18 degrees every day with light winds, maybe a bit more wind on the weekend. So obviously a bit of wind will make it interesting. But for anyone that's watching, the stretch of holes through, I'd say 6 through 11, they are unbelievable stretch of holes, and obviously the last 2 will play a key part as well. The par 3 17.
Did you see the new 10th tee box, Harry?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, God, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
you're hitting it over the beach, like it's
unbelievable.
Amazing.
Yeah, that stretch of holes being from 8. I think Jack Nicklaus famously kind of says is the best second shot ever in golf, where you're hitting out over that cove, over the bay. 9, 10, 11, all that stretch is just, it's unbelievable. The pictures we're going to see over the weekend are fantastic. And look, 4 nights of sitting down for 8 hours in a row and staying up till 3 a.m. because of the 8-hour time difference. How bad? Bring it on, you know.
Okay, Harry, look, great to speak to you again. Everything is going well for you up around there. And
all good, Matt. Yeah, playing a bit of golf, and then we're into summer season now, and there's so much to look forward to for tour golf as well over the coming weeks. And Port Rush is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit closer to the time, but it's coming around really quick as well, you know.
Great stuff indeed. Great to speak to you, Harry. Talk to you again very soon.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, that's Harry Ewing up there, and nice to speak to Harry again. Before I let you go, Ian, anything else happening on the scenes?
Just to pick up a point there from Harry as well about Patrick Cantley. I mean, it's a very good pick from himself. Like, I mean, he's finished tied 9th, tied 3rd, tied 1st. He won a couple of weeks ago. But there's an interesting story too. In February 2016, his caddy Chris Roth was killed in a hit and run accident in Newport Beach in California. So, you know, he had been a teammate of Cantley's, a caddied for him as an amateur in his professional career. You know, and I think this major couldn't come. He's had issues with his back. He had, a damaged vertebrae as well. So, you know, you always get some sort of interesting story behind the winner in these cases. Now, there's probably one for everyone that's playing. But I just thought it was an interesting one. A phenomenal player, like, as well. And I really think that he will be up there as well, as Harry was saying. And I'm going to throw out one other tip as well that I had completely out of the left field is Eric Van Rooyen. He's a South African. He's 150 to 1. He's played 2 major championships, and that was the Masters and the PGA Championship this year. And he finished in the top 20 in both, if not in the top 15 in one of them, I think. So he'd be a good shout as well. So look, I think Shane Lowry as well is a very good shout, as Harry was saying. And nothing really else going on. I mean, Robin unfortunately just missed the cut by a shot last week, and they're off again playing this week on the Challenge Tour. So we wish him well. But just to go through a few of the tee times for people as well for tomorrow. It's now this is local time, so it'll be 7:51. Rory's playing with John Ram and Mark Leishman, one of Harry's picks there. They're going off the 10th. At 8:13 you'll have our own Shane Lowry, Tyrrell Hatton and Gary Woodward. They'll go off the 1st. At the same time, going off the 10th, then you'll have Dustin Johnson, Mickelson and our own Graham McDowell. And off the 1st, then at 1:47 p.m. you have Brooks, Molinari and a young Norwegian guy who won the US Open Amateur Championship last year at Pebble Beach, actually, and Robin was playing that too. I think it's Victor Hovland, great talent. And I suppose the one that we're all looking at, and we haven't mentioned him one little bit, is Tiger Woods. He plays at 2:09, which is I think it's 9 or 10 o'clock our time. He played with Jordan Spieth and Justin Rose. And let's see what Tiger can do as well. I mean, he won here in 2000 by 15 shots, which I think is, in my opinion and in my lifetime, and probably in the history of the game, is the most spectacular way to just dominate a team or a field of players. I don't think we'll ever see the likes of that again, to win by 15 shots. I mean, he was 12 under par, the nearest to him was 3 over. And famously, Ernie Els was asked on Saturday night, what do you think you're going to have to shoot tomorrow to win? And he said, I'll probably have to shoot Tiger.
Yeah,
and that was it, do you remember that? So, I mean, it was so far ahead. So, look, Tiger as well. Don't know. Be interesting to watch though, but it's wide open. Wide open.
Fantastic 4 days in store for all us golf lovers. Great to have you in again, Ian. Many thanks for that, and many thanks also to Harry Ewing up there in Carlow.